Well, hello everyone and welcome to today's SDI webinar. My name is David Wright and I'll be your host for today's event, where it's our pleasure to have Eileen O'Mahony, General Manager at WM Promus, join us today. And WM Promus is an IT consultancy working primarily across ITOM, DevOps and Cloud, and robotic process automation. And I think it's fair to say that over the last sort of year or so, everyone was very well aware, certainly as an outcome of COVID-19, that there's a greater emphasis and impetus for organizations to digitally transform. There's a real pressure to exploit the technology out there and the data out there to improve the customer experience, the back office operations, manual processes, and an awful lot more in operations as well. So organizations are understanding that they need to adapt to these new constraints and to do things differently. And Eileen will be talking to us today about transforming service delivery at an enterprise level, and that relates to digital transformation and also how service management tools are evolving to support this. So I'm certainly looking forward to this one today, looking forward to listening and learning today as well. And as ever, listeners, please at any point during today's proceedings ask your questions, and you can do that by using the console. So if you've got any questions or any comments, just type them in, click that submit button, and that'll come over to us, and we'll look to answer those questions, as many as we can, towards the end of today's session. So please ask away. And at the end of the webinar as well, you'll also find some further information in the handouts and takeaway section. So keep an eye out for that. There'll be an awful lot more that you can consume to learn from as well. So without further ado, welcome Eileen. It's great to have you with us, and over to you.
Thanks very much, David. That was nice of you to introduce me like that. I'm just going to give you a very quick overview of who Promus are and why I have any reason to be here talking to you today about ECSM. So Promus started out over 10 years ago, and we started in the IT asset management space. So everyone wants to know what their IT assets are, what they own, what they're worth, the state of their software license compliance, and so on. After a relatively short period of time, we moved into the IT service management space and also monitoring of IT devices. A core part of our work became configuration management. Now, if you're an IT asset manager, you want to know what you own, but if you're a configuration manager, you want to know what it's connected to and what business services those configuration items are supporting, what impact on your business a change to a device might cause. So increasingly, we and our clients became interested in automating configuration management. That's basically DevOps technologies and tools. And that's how we moved into that space. Making improvements for our clients through automation in the IT sphere led us to talking to them into discussions about how we could do the same for other areas in the business. You know, was there something we could do for the non-IT people, HR, finance, legal departments, and so on? And that's how we ended up looking to RPA as a suitable technology to deliver what clients needed. Now, interestingly, the whole three lines of business continue to grow and intertwine, but it's through our RPA work that we've kind of come back full circle, and we're talking about service delivery and service management to HR, facilities, those non-IT departments, which is essentially the arena of enterprise service management. So before I talk specifically about ESM, let's talk just for a second about the big question that every single organization cares about. How do I achieve sustainability while growing profits? All right. So, you know, it may seem like an obvious one. You know, you think all I need to do is increase productivity. Yeah. But how? We know that, you know, streamlining activities, eliminating unnecessary tasks, and so on, all that fosters productivity. But where should I start to look? Where do I look to achieve this? And what about employee morale? It's well known that increased employee morale positively impacts on sustainability and growth, as does getting more out of existing technology. So, you know, your technology, you've got costs in terms of licenses, maintenance, support, and so on. So what you want to do is to reap as much as you can from that investment. So let's say I've worked out where I need to make improvements, or I need to implement some changes or new initiatives or whatever it is, but I need to be able to see if what I do actually delivers the outcomes I desire. I need to ensure that I have a clear visibility and control over the activities in my organization. Who's doing what? Is it efficient? If not, how can I improve on it, and so on. Now, to do that, I need metrics. I need to be able to report. I need to be able to analyze the outcomes. Otherwise, I actually can't make changes. I can't tell whether or not my changes are being effective, whether there's any point in what I've done. Another obvious thing to list is minimizing waste. So what this usually involves is mapping processes in such a way that we can see how much value they add. We can see, you know, what they are in terms, what they use in terms of resources, how resource intensive they are. And in today's world, the very common question, the off-race question is, and can I automate them? Can I automate the tasks that are being done by my human resources? The last one I have on the upper right about competitive edge. I've recently been spending quite a bit of time with our legal sector clients, and this one has come up over and over again. Now, it's not just obviously in the legal sector, but certainly what's very clear in that sector is how tech is driving the capability to get ahead of the competition. In the past 18 months, of course, it's been a crazy 18 months, but for an awful lot of our clients, it was actually having suitable technology in place that saw them through the crisis. For many, it was having quite a mature ITSM setup. For others, it was having RPA in place and so on. But let's look at back office services. So if we think about these, for every single one of the items I mentioned before, improving employee morale, increased productivity, increased visibility, minimizing waste, and so on, most organizations will admit there's work to do in terms of back office services. In fact, we often don't even refer to them as services, but we certainly should. Things like I need to book a training room, the water cooler is leaking, stuff like that. Now, in the world of IT, which is where I originally come from, in terms of IT, we're used to the term service, IT service management. And the concept of changing passwords, providing system access, similar activities like that, we've long seen these as a service. But what about the other stuff? No, not really seen in the same way. And those colleagues and those employees who are the recipients, they're not typically treated as end customers. If you're the customer in most organizations and you want to request something like a copy of your payslip, or you want to book annual leave, or you need someone to help you book travel, you have to get to another site. Often this relies on someone knowing how the organization operates, or if you don't, you have to ask some colleagues who've been around for ages and they know how things are done. But most definitely, those activities, those separate things like asking for a pay slip or booking travel or whatever, typically all those activities, the fulfillment of them are siloed. You've got different departments handling them. There's no one way to raise a request. And actually, in terms of even raising a request, sometimes you fill out a form, sometimes you have to email someone, but it's rarely an intuitive process, and it's very rarely built around the actual, the requester, the customer, or the end user of the service. So what should we expect? And what should the organization expect, and what should employees expect? You know, because they do expect more, and not getting more is leaving them disgruntled, and it's also leaving the organization falling short of where it wants to be. So the reason employees expect more is that they've become used to consuming products and services offered by organizations that have been innovating and investing in customer experience. You know, employees today are tech savvy. In their day-to-day life, they engage with Amazon, Uber, they use online banking services and so on. Your employees know what technology-backed service improvement feels like. You know, typically it feels good, it feels fast, it's efficient, it's seamless. Your employees are comfortable being online, they're comfortable with chatbots. They like to have the option to call HR and so on, but they also want to be able to access those services through their mobile, without having to make a phone call. Also, they want to be able to easily see, to track what it is they asked for and when. If I order a book from my local bookshop, they've got an online arrangement. I can see what I ordered. I can see when I can expect it to arrive and so on. If they haven't got it in stock, I get a message to say it's not in stock, and the arrival of, the fulfillment of my request will be delayed. So just the same, employees want to be able to communicate easily with whomever is providing the service. So actually, your employees, they're not disgruntled because they're comparing one internal back office service to another. The bar is being set by their experience of great service in their normal day-to-day lives. And I'm going to keep saying this, it's not about the technology, because back office systems, they do have the technology. Everyone has HR systems in place, but while they hold employee data, they don't provide the capabilities that support the work, a lot of the work around providing service and support that HR does. And what you get is delays, errors, and increased costs, and a poor service experience for those who wanting to help, who want information, who want some change to what, their day-to-day life and so on. So back offices typically don't focus on customer-centric processes. It's often very difficult to request and consume services, and it's frustrating when you try and get support for that. we often see them, they're dealt with manually using email, spreadsheets, databases, and so on. And in terms of the organization, it's very hard to improve. It's hard to scale up. There's no visibility into the business operations. There's no measurement, no improvement. There's no standards. There's different approaches, different tools. So although the organization wants to be efficient with scalable and controllable back office services, that's not typically what they have. And what they have just leads to increasing costs. But as David said at the beginning, there is a shift in thinking, and there's a real realization that whilst HR, finance, and other departments have always offered services, they're not accustomed to using frameworks or principles to manage the delivery of those services. Now, IT, well, IT mightn't have all the answers, but IT is accustomed to using frameworks or principles. Yeah. Over the past few years, and especially over the past year, we've seen a real significant increase in the adoption of ITSM concepts and best practices by other departments in our client organizations. Because really, a service is a service. No matter whether it's an IT or a non-IT service, it does mean the foundational ITSM concepts, the principles, the capabilities, they apply. You still need to define a service. You need to create it, roll it out, support it, improve it. So it makes sense that the guidance that's already available, you use it to steer you towards successful management of all services and not just IT. So without going into tons of detail, what is it that we have and we know about ITSM that's really available for ESM to use? Because ESM really is, it's a means towards providing your customers' employees with more value by using and adopting the service management principles you're probably already have in situ. So specifically, there's an implementation of IT service-focused business frameworks. You're looking at deploying the guidance and principles you already use in IT to functions that have little to do with the field of IT or don't rely on IT at all. So as a general rule of thumb for anyone looking to progress in terms of ESM, there's two things you need. One is you need to sort of lean on the standards and guidance already available that steers you towards regulation and governance that define the ideas, the aims, the operations about what your ESM is going to be and what role it'll be for the organization. And the second thing is you will need some sort of software or mechanism to actually implement and deliver the ESM services throughout the company. Now, I'm not going to talk about technology just yet because I do want to talk about some other things, but I will come back to it. So let's look at some key areas. Okay, next week, I know there's a conference with SDI about customer focus because that's become even more important during the COVID-19 crisis. There's a vast increase of employees working from home. There's a whole new situation for IT and business departments who have to deal with the new and increasing demand for services such as VPN, having work equipment at home, and so on. And we already know that boosting employee morale and treating employees as internal customers does have a direct impact on profitability. So businesses really need to rethink their approach about providing employee workplace services. And service desks are there. Service desks already know that those callers, those requesters, they're customers. Whether they're internal or external, they're customers. And their idea of successful service depends on how they experience it, not how you sort of deem it being delivered. So ITSM by its very name is service focused. There's bodies of standards and guidance such as ITIL that describes how all the components and activities of the organization work together as a system to enable value creation. And, there's plenty good practice out there based on those guidance and standards. It's not just ITIL, there's IT for IT, COBIT, and so on. And your IT department will already have good practice embedded in what they do. So IT is the ideal place to reach out to expand your provision of services within the enterprise. So as I said, it's not just about the technology. But if you already have an ITSM system in place, and you'll have something in place now, there's a real opportunity to capitalize on that investment. So now, having said that, your ITSM solution does have to have some basic features that would support a modern day approach to service delivery. The service desk, problem management, and so on. With ITSM, the process for managing requests, for handling incidents, for investigating problems, and so on, they're already in place. So the concept of a centralized area to manage everything as a ticket, it's core to how we already deliver IT services. So again, ESM, reach out to ITSM, lean on ITSM to build and grow so that regardless of the business area the ticket is aligned to, the service is managed in an efficient way, in a continually improving manner, just in the same manner as service desks operate now. Right, years ago, we all know, decades ago, right? The standard was you phoned the desk, you know, or you emailed the desk. You were encouraged not to walk up to them, but you signaled help by a phone call or an email. But these days, most organisations will have a portal. Now, if they don't, they'll certainly have it in their sightline to have a portal, because employees expect to self-serve. They expect a one-stop shop, regardless of what department's going to attend to their requirements. So if they say, I need a new laptop bag, or I want to book travel next Wednesday, or whatever it is, regardless of the business area, they'd like a one-stop shop to make that call out for help. The other thing is, so we talked about a portal embedded in most ITSM's tools. The other thing you'll often see is visualization of the processes within ITSM tools, including the transitions that guide whomever's delivering the services, the agents, the people who are fulfilling the services through the life cycle of the request or the incident or change or whatever it is that's raised. With the addition of automation into your ITSM system, and with the addition of automation, the ability to integrate out to automation tools, this really is an opportunity to increase your savings, not just in terms of time, but in terms of money, in terms of effort. You know, outsourcing a task to a bot or outsourcing a task to an orchestration tool, that's where you want to go, right? I mean, one thing that comes to mind, you know, what people have been doing for ages now, and we've certainly done at Promus, I've done with Micro Focus, many implementations we've done, is where a manager might request a provision to a new team member to have access to a network or access to applications and so on. Now, part of that workflow might be to edit or to add an AD account. That task, typically we will automate that task. So as the workflow, as the ticket progresses through its workflow, we'd ensure that any required approvals and communications and so on are automatically triggered. But in addition to that, the actual task of creating the AD account or updating it would also be automated. So lastly, a big one here is analytics and machine learning. As I said, the way forward is automation, but equally in terms of sort of what we know as intelligence and so on, you know, the ITSM tools we work with here at Promus also deliver analytics and machine learning. You know, it's what ESM wants, the ability to work smarter. Now, whether that be having the technology make searching for knowledge easier for the end user, or whether it's to provide insights into the work undertaken by business areas so that improvements can be made, regardless of what it's for, you really are expecting that level in the tools that you're using now. So I didn't mean to go on so much about all that ITSM has to offer ESM, but I think we can certainly agree that there's scope to apply to back office services and head towards our goal of happier employees, increased productivity, better visibility of activities, and so on. So how do we do this? How do we approach this? Where do we start? So I've heard people talk about, there's been references to, you know, adopting a strategic approach or a tactical approach. You know, strategic being where the mandate is from the top down, and the intention is over time to share the corporate ITSM tool and practices throughout the enterprise. Now, the other hand, you know, people tend to use the word tactical, where they're saying, you know, one department decides, you know, collaborates very tightly with the IT department and says, you know, let's use your existing ITSM tool to facilitate handling our own workload. Now, I've seen both approaches work. Now, and actually sometimes in a large organization, it's a small pocket of change, not necessarily driven from the top down at CEO level, but driven by a head of department that inspires a shift in thinking. Regardless of where you start, it's not just about the technology. What you do need is governance, you need standards, you need agreement on tool usage and so on. So don't forget, ESM is far more than just using existing ITSM tools. As I mentioned in the previous slide, it really is about good practice, and its good practice is likely to necessitate employees adopting a different approach and mindset. And that's why you need to be cognizant of the fact that implementing an ESM system, culture change is often the most challenging part of the transformation. Because, you know, service manager does demand new behavior. You know, you need to get rid of the concept, you know, what we often have is silos. You know, silos, you go to HR for one thing, you go to IT for something else. But actually, what we're looking at is workflows that traverse across departments. So you need to get rid of the concept of siloed service delivery. And also you need to really engage with the recipients of the service. It's all about co-creation of value. So do ask yourself, do we have organization or cultural factors that could inhibit our success? Is there something that's likely to block us from deploying a successful ESM roadmap? So do be clear about your objectives for implementing ESM. you know, what the resulting requirements are, what the desired business outcomes are, you know, how do your objectives around ESM relate to your overarching business goals? Because creating a synergy between your ESM objectives and corporate goals, that's what will help you reach the finish line. That's what will get you to your implementation faster. And also, it's going to give you a far greater level of success and buy-in. So clarify how your ESM objectives relate to your business goals. It also, with that, it means you need to take stock of the critical success factors. You need to know what you're measuring. How will you know when you've got there? What does the end look like? What does success look like? Right. So we've talked about knowing what the end looks like, but what about the starting point? It is worthwhile reflecting on how mature your organization is, how mature the technology you're currently using is, because that will determine in many ways where your starting point is. Now, what I would say is, regardless of whether you're adopting a top-down approach that's driven at CEO level or it's been driven by a head of department, do not adopt a big bang approach. You need to start with one business area, one service, right? Choose a service where there's a large number of requests around the same topic. Something where there's time-sensitive requests that can be tracked and managed. You know, for instance, someone who provides approval or moves forward an action where you might have gatekeepers somewhere along the process, that's another ideal one. And also something that you can frequently provide reports on so that you're going to get buy-in, you can quickly prove success and therefore get ESM sort of moving along across the organization. So make sure you have sort of phases of improvement. Time-wise, I would say, pick something that can be done in 30 days. Yeah, to go for something quite quick. Now, to be honest, the technology bit is the quickest. I mean, we work with Micro Focus's tool called SMAX, and standing up a new service and the related applications around the SMAX solution, you know, plus adding offerings, adding items on the self-service portal, that's a really quick one. We've done that within a week or so. I mean, in some cases, we've actually done it in less time than that with existing clients with the portal and so on. But make sure you leave time for the other stuff like communicating new ways of working and so on, because your starting service needs to retain people's focus and enthusiasm. So it's not simply about selecting the right tool or designing and automating new processes. The work really does involve integrating people. And also sponsorship, right? You need to be surrounded by the right people. In terms of sponsorship, I would say in small to mid-sized companies, you're looking for C-level sponsorship. You know, even if you do start at department level, you will eventually need to get C-suite backing to have an ESM roadmap. So we'll come back to technology later, because I'm really keen to show you Micro Focus's SMAX tool, because you do need to have a tool that is, there's no point in having a tool that only lets you log requests at the moment and perhaps do some very basic reporting, but is poor on tracking, doesn't provide a portal and so on. Right. What goes wrong? Okay, so without a doubt, I would say your ground zero service, the first service you choose, you need to choose a department that's ready for change, that's culturally willing to progress and improve. You're looking for managers who are, you know, the type of people who are willing to be pioneers. They're going to go on and champion ESM across the organization, right? You're looking for starting processes that are straightforward, where, you know, requests are currently being made by email or phone. You know, perhaps where people have to download forms, manually complete them, scan them, that type of thing. They're not necessarily complex, but they're very time consuming and very inefficient. Good starting point there. Now, it may be that your starting ESM project delivers quite a narrow scope. It might be that it's just really about the logging and tracking of a request with a notification to someone to fulfill it, and then the closure of the ticket when the request is done. But by even doing that, you're replacing manual workflows where requests currently get lost, forgotten, misdirected. You know, there's no accountability, there's slow, there's a lag, and there's really poor satisfaction. So what type of stuff? Well, I mean, I've got up here in front of you a whole range of ESM apps that people could look at. So as I said before, it's one that gets, you know, items that get a large number of requests, ones where there's gatekeeper parts of the process, such as approval and so on required. I mean, if you just think of HR, handling requests for leave, training and staffing, onboarding new employees, all of those can be easily managed using ITSM best practice. And certainly they can be supported by solutions such as Micro Focus's SMAX. Things like general admin, requesting office supplies, training rooms, booking training rooms, tracking room allocation, visitor registration, managing requests for repairs, all of this can easily be done using ITSM best practice and ITSM technology. Right. What else? What other kind of stuff can go wrong? So I did mention getting the right sponsor and personnel involved. The people who need to have a seat at that table are IT. IT is the most experience with automated service processes, the most experience of delivering services as services with principles, governance behind them. So you need to have them participate as a trusted advisor on the team and not just be seen as someone who implements the offering in the portal when you get to the end, right? They do need to be there with you, working alongside of you. So as I said, it's not about the technology, per se, but certainly keep an eye on the fact that ESM should deliver an increased return on your tech investment. So your technology has to support the ability to actually do that. So what are the sort of basic things I'd be looking for from the technology? What do I need? Right, you might have a basic ticket logging and tracking tool, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's fit for ESM purposes. What I would say is, at a basic level, the user experience, not just for those that are delivering the service, those, the people who are fulfilling the requests or dealing with incidents or complaints. I mean, those people would expect an easily navigatable tool. They would expect to be able to look at queues of assigned work. They'd expect to be able to customize those queues. They'd expect to be able to filter in multiple ways and extract reports. They want to be able to create their own reports. They'd like to be able to see that stuff as bar charts, pie charts, and so on. That's basic stuff that those fulfilling services would need. In terms of the end user, as we said, end users are looking for an Amazon-like experience. So they're looking for a self-service portal, one that doesn't require any training. And mobile, they definitely expect mobile. They expect that they will be able to interact, request services, track services, and so on, track what they've asked for on their mobile. They don't want to have to log on to sit at a desk and log on to a system. What else do end users want? They want it to be engaging. So chat, they're used to using chatbots now. They want to be able to access knowledge. They want social collaboration, virtual agents. Experience like this lets employees get back to work. They can get back to their own work easily and quickly, because they're engaging in a way that they're familiar with in their life outside work. So the next one is probably the most obvious one: ticketing. The system needs to be able to log, track, trace, report on issues. They need ticketing. Really, that's a given. And what about process flow and task automation? So this is where we can make processes slicker. Can we automate the emails that have been sent out? Or can we even look at runbook automation to fulfill the request? I spoke earlier about setting up AD accounts. In fact, that's quite old hat at this stage. Ideally, I'd be able to integrate with a whole range of other in-situ technology within the organization. I know one of the things we did recently was integrate our service portal to DevOps technology, because we said, okay, well, why is it that someone can access help with the printer or photocopier, but if someone wants to stand up a server, that's treated as a whole separate high-tech request, and they don't go to the portal to do that. But why not? Why not let them go to the portal and then integrate out to a DevOps solution, so that that employee is treated just the same as everybody else? Right, knowledge, this is fundamental throughout the system. The expectation is that knowledge management is deeply ingrained across the solution, not just supporting those requesting the service, but also those delivering the service. Right, analytics and reporting. I need my solution to provide analytics capabilities to support issue resolution and decision making. I need to be able to analyze trends. I need to be able to anticipate issues and adapt to the business needs. Right, that's expected at this stage from a basic system. The other sort of stuff I'm looking for, well, obviously, if my ITSM solution is going to expand to ESM, I need to be able to easily accommodate new services. I must be able to build out my solution. I want my service request catalog to support non-IT stuff. I want my service portfolio to support that. And I want to be able to add new internal apps for non-IT areas. And leading on to that, I don't want this to be complicated. What I'd like is that my process owners can actually do this. So I don't want to hire a cast of 1,000 developers. I don't want JavaScripting. I want to be able to build this out, sort of drag and drop, filling in some text fields, choosing from drop downs. That's what I want. So you're looking towards your ITSM solution to say, does it do that? Can I do that? So therefore, can I build out to ESM? And so in terms of the complexity around installing and upgrading, as I improve my enterprise service delivery, the technology shouldn't hold me back. Upgrades need to be straightforward. If I have additional portal users, so as I expand and I say HR now uses the system, so therefore I'm going to have more portal users more users logging into the portal. I don't want to incur additional costs for that. I don't want to have to pay extra every time a business area offers a new service via the portal. And as for, I've already talked about integrating into existing environments. The DevOps one is one example I gave, but there's plenty more. AD was another earlier one I gave. So as for intelligence, I'm looking for smart search capabilities to enable employees to find answers easily and quickly. Virtual agents and bots that can perform tasks using NLP. I want intelligent analytics so that I can put in place workflow optimization. I want to get metrics from unstructured data. I want to be able to send out surveys and then gather and analyze the information from those surveys in a really great way. I want insights. I want the solution to give me insights about where I can improve. I want it to be able to tell me, you know, when people access the portal, what are they looking for? What are they searching for? What can I do to improve things for them? What can I do to help them to make this a better service portal to demonstrate that I care about my employees and I want them to work more productively, more efficiently, and so on. So remember, the tool is only a tool though. So whichever solution you choose, it has to be accompanied by cultural change and the kind of leadership that embraces ESM principles. So I do want to show you SMAX now. So on front of me here, I have what the out-of-the-box portal looks like. Now, in this one, you can see here that we've got some IT relevant stuff around phone and mobile and so on, network connectivity, but I've also got human resources here. Now, we've built this out for many clients where they would also have training. They might have facilities management. They might have time tracking. They build lots of other boxes or areas on their portal. And that's very straightforward to do, as I've already mentioned. So for SMAX, it's the first software solution for IT and enterprise service management and also IT asset management built from the ground up. It out of the box includes machine learning and analytics. You can deploy it on premise or in the cloud, or you can move from one to the other depending on how your business conditions might change. And there's a whole range of really flexible licensing options around that. Looking at the portal, you know, SMAX does provide a really innovative user experience for interacting with, and not just for IT, but and also the way that you can interact with it. You can access it via mobile devices. There's a smart virtual agent. There's smart email. There's this web-based self-service portal and so on. Now, the portal is the gateway really for your end user experience. It doesn't matter what the business area is. Now, you can have different portal views for different groups if that's what you wanted. And the other thing is you can brand the portal with your own organization logo. Now, those tasks, there's no developer skills required. Again, as I said, that's click, drag, drop. You know, it's very, very straightforward. An important capability around this, the portal and around this solution is the smart search. It's like a Google search. You just use natural language to ask the question. And the response you get, it may be that it's related to knowledge article, or it may be that the response the system gives you is related to an offering that's available in the system. So as well as this, there are virtual agents available. There's intelligent virtual agents that can help you find what you're looking for. And you can interact with that virtual agent. You can chat to the virtual agent. Now, this is out of the box. It comes with the core solution. Don't pay extra for this. Another thing that's ideal for ESM, it's social collaboration. If you think about it, this is how people actually behave in the real world, that whole community way of working. We don't always go online to do something. We often ask a colleague, you know, can I ask you, how do I book training room on floor 5? That type of thing. Now, what's built in is this social collaboration into SMAX so that you actually do the same type of thing on the portal. Now, what the portal does is it captures that social collaboration. And with the backup of machine learning and analytics, it allows the people delivering the service to work out what is it the community are discussing? What can we do to improve things for them? What knowledge articles and offerings can we do? So there's an example of smart search. So what you can see here is if I type in something like email on mobile here in the top, just standard text, just plain text, what I'm getting returned at the lower part of the screen is I might get a knowledge article returned, or I might get a support offering that's available. Because what it will do is, as I type in, it provides suggested solutions as to what I might want. Okay. Now, smart search is also available to the agents at the back end who are fulfilling the requests that are raised. And also, this search functionality is available on a mobile device. Right, the virtual agents. So what you can see here is that I can communicate with a virtual agent almost like a person, right? It's intent-based, automated, 24/7 assistance. You've got integrated live chat, and what you're seeing here is the user is describing their problem in natural language, and the bot, the virtual bot, is responding to, the virtual agent is responding to the user input. So the capabilities are that it'll interpret the user's intent and basically allow for self-help. So what this means is you're reducing the efforts by the service desk. You can have replies to frequently asked questions and so on. So the benefits are obvious. There's fewer tickets opened, there's faster resolutions, it's a better user experience. You're freeing up agents to do other work, and you're saving on those level 1 support costs and moving your savings into innovation. So you can see SMAX offers a really modern user experience. It's designed to think about how customers interact, how the info is displayed, where it's displayed, and so on. And then it uses machine learning and smart search to bring back what people need. Now, I want to mention that you can control what data, what offerings, what requests, and so on are available to all of the users within the system. So it may be that you want people who work in IT to have certain amount of knowledge articles, certain offerings and so on available to them, and you can set up the system easily to do that. Whereas you might have people who are HR, they can see other bits of information that should be secret and kept away from certain members of your employee community. Right, so machine learning and analytics. So on the screen now, I'm showing how SMAX provides, it's providing a heat map of user questions that were raised in the portal. What SMAX does very cleverly is it clusters those questions for me. Now, the way it's grouping them, it's not based on categorization. It's actually based on the data within the ticket, the title, the description, and so on. And I can drill down into the groups and gain insights as to what it is the end users are asking for, what it is they're requesting, and so on. And knowing that, providing that information to me means that I can improve, because I can consider adding a knowledge article or perhaps adding a new service. And it's SMAX Analytics helping me to do that. Now, up on the top right, you can see that I can actually configure stop word lists, so I don't include them in the analytics that are being done. And on the right, you can see that there's, for the user questions that are displayed, I can check in the checkbox to the left of them, I can select a number of these user questions, and from the back of that, I can generate knowledge articles. I can generate knowledge articles or support offerings. Now, not only that, but I've also got other clever analytics going on that will let me do further improvement, because what the change analytics does is it offers insights based on the data of the changes I implemented, how successful they were, whether they were delayed, whether I did them according to the times planned, and so on. And not just that, but it makes suggestions for improvements. So it will identify where I had successes, and for example, it might identify, you can see at the lower it says recommended improvements. So it might recommend that I improve by creating a new model for something, and so on. So Hot Topic Analytics uses advanced search and analytics capabilities to enable the agents to view and analyze the patterns. We've just seen that in user questions and so on, and to create knowledge articles or problem records based on those patterns. We've seen that the change analytics gives you insights based on the data and allows you to make improvement that way. And also, ChatOps provides collaboration between people and tools. And this will also allow you to view suggested knowledge articles. You can include hyperlinks to knowledge articles in the knowledge management module and so on. On top of that, you can use collaboration tools such as Microsoft Teams, Slack, and so on. You can link from SMAX through to those tools. So I said earlier that all of this, a lot of this comes out of the box, but also if you want to set up new apps and new services, that it's very straightforward. And that's because SMAX is codeless. So we refer to SMAX always as having codeless configuration, which allows easy upgrades. It's entirely codeless. The content that a lot of the content we've seen is provided out of the box, but it is easily customized. And this is what ensures easy upgrades. It ensures they're seamless. That's why codeless is so important. It allows you faster time to value, It is lower total cost of ownership because you don't need to have, as I said, you don't need to have a huge team of developers. And it's also empowering process owners as opposed to developers to build what it is they need. So, you know, the benefits are obvious because what SMAX comes with is it's got a studio, and within SMAX's studio, what you can do is very easily define a new app that you want, and not just a new app, but what new forms go along with that. Again, this is all drag and drop. You can build out a workflow. So let's just look at what a workflow looks like. So you can build out a workflow that maps to your process. Again, you don't need to be able to code to do this. There's lots of out-of-the-box workflows that you can work from. There's out-of-the-box business rules that you can work from, but that then you can tailor for your own requirements. You can include automatic notifications as part of your workflow. And I'm just thinking of an example one of our colleagues at Micro Focus did recently, which was around time tracking. Now, they worked with the client on what data they wanted to capture, what the process flow was, and so on. But they moved from initially coming up with the idea and whiteboarding it to it within a couple of days, deciding, you know, what the time tracking capability was. And they had something production ready in, you know, really in a matter of days. And that's what we're looking for from an ESM tool. In addition to that, we're looking for what most tools out there now provide, which is a marketplace community for creating and sharing applications. And that is what SMAX now has. So there's an example of facilities management. So on my portal now, I've got facilities management that lets me register a visitor, note who the visitor is, when they're arriving, whether or not they require parking, and so on. So SMAX really is a leading enterprise service management solution. So in terms of technology, I think we've got that nailed. That is a good place to go. So the next stage of your process or your approach, it's the implementation and iteration. So I have said you do need to adopt an agile approach, right? You do need to balance documentation. So yes, certainly document at the beginning, document the requirements, document what the customer is saying to you. But my key suggestions would be progress iteratively with feedback and keep it simple and practical. Now, those are two of the fundamental ITIL principles. There are many more, but I would say these are two that you should hold on to if you're starting out on your ESM journey. Implement the plan, test small changes, gather data on the change effectiveness, evaluate that data, and then identify the deviations between the outcomes and your planned objectives, and make sure the customers are involved in the testing. Communicate throughout. All the stakeholders have to be continually communicated with, especially those who will receive the service. Don't forget, it's co-creation. So what goes wrong? Poor practice. No design at the beginning. So I've mentioned already, ITIL, lean on ITIL. ITIL explains why service definition is so important. It's because with a clear definition of the service, you know what your customers expect and you know what kind of service you have to deliver to them. So it puts you in a position to figure out what capabilities and what resources you need to provide the service. ITIL 4 provides a wealth of guidance around the service value system. So do head that way and check out what it is you need from them. Again, don't forget about the customer, debt by meeting. There's one. Agile. I'm a great proponent of an early Scrum meeting, but you do not need to kill the enthusiasm with which your first service will be implemented by meetings continually. So it's not just ITIL, but we've got ISO, IT for IT, the Deming cycle in terms of continual improvement. Because once you get to the end of deploying your first service for your first business area, what should you now be doing? Don't forget, you already declared what KPIs you were going to look at in the first stage. When we talked about assessment plan, we talked about KPIs, how you'd know when you reach the end. So it's time to start analysing the metrics to see if you've delivered as plans. This is also time where you note the lessons learned. So you're part of that continual improvement, or it used to be known as continual service improvement stage. Now, notably, ITIL 4 has updated its CSI module and it's got a take action step box to it. So there's no excuses. Reach out to the CI section of ITIL 4. It's got a take action section letting you know where's the next step to make improvements. There's a whole variety of activities that can be performed to improve your services. You know, measuring business process times, analysing and reporting customer feedback. SMAX is a built-in customer survey module which you can make use of. Implementing suggestions for improvements. and so on. So over time, your employee satisfaction will spill over to your external customers, who will also notice the improvement. Now, continual improvement is a long history. There's well-established management methods for this. One is the Deming cycle and so on. So there's no reason not to tackle that. I've kind of come full circle here. I'm hurtling towards getting you to say, yes, ESM is the route to sustainable and profitable growth, because we've looked at increasing productivity through using an easy ticket tracking process, enabling your teams to respond to the requests quickly, using that portal to have it all in one place for the end user, getting rid of inboxes and making employees' minds less cluttered, increasing their productivity in that way. Improving employee morale is because you're treating them with the respect that they deserve in trying to deliver on their jobs. For them to do their work, as we said, they don't need their minds cluttered with how it is they have to go and book a training room. Who do I have to speak to get a copy of my payslip? Minimizing waste, right? So when you know exactly what's needed, you will avoid redundant surpluses. So as you mature with this process, you will continually evolve using continuous improvement for long-term improvement and optimization. And as well, we've said, once you establish reporting techniques, reliable metrics, high level of visibility, you can then identify the problem areas. And that's another thing that SMAX gives you, is the ability to easily generate report. But not just that, but for SMAX itself to help you do the analysis and to give you insights as to where you can improve. So the competitive edge, definitely, we're saying 23, 24 companies will have embraced intelligent tech-enabled systems in order to thrive and drive unforeseen changes. That's really what's happening. That's what we're looking at now. If you've already got an ITSM system, you need to be using it. Okay, you need to be using it to drive your ESM roadmap out to give you sustainable and profitable growth. And my other thing is, we've seen the necessity of this in the last 18 months. So if you're not thinking about it now, next week, make time next week to reflect on this. David, I'm going to stop there. And I think you're fielding some questions that are coming in. So over to you with those.
Thanks, Eileen. Yeah, that's an awful lot of information, which is great, really in depth as well. Certainly like SMAX, I've seen it in use a few times, and the smart ticketing, and certainly the drive towards that sort of more intelligent platform, data segmentation, patterns, no code, low code, no code, and that move towards, which I think is where we're going, that citizen developer, with just taking all that sort of structure and making sure that it's almost decentralized and pushed to the organization. You're absolutely right. We have got some questions that have come through. For our audience, if you'd like to continue to ask questions, we'll address those as they come through, as many as we can. We are pushed for time a little bit, so we've got around about 10 minutes, I think, for questions. We've got one from Steve, and Steve talks about that they're already looking at enterprise service management there, and he's got a question about the pitfalls. So what's likely to go wrong? And I think you've named some of those already, certainly from a cultural perspective. So the pitfalls to look out for, and we've also got a comment as well from Roman about the phrasing, terminology, the use of portals. So he says, let me just pull that up. Yeah, most of the ESM apps that were on the slide already applications with self-service front ends, so the portal, which reduces that sort of access to just a simple link in many users, maybe how they think about that. And he says that's a big problem for ITSM and the move to ESM, which I think is a fair shout, the adoption of that and what an end user thinks it is, wherever that end user may be in the organization. So what maybe are some of the pitfalls, and what should people be looking out for and trying to...
Great. Yeah, great question. So we talked about some of them in terms of cultural change, absolutely, having a sponsor inside the organization and so on. But also in terms of, I mean, one is funding. Who's going to fund this? So you do want, so one of the things I would say is in terms of funding, if people spend money, they want to see a nice or quick return on their investment, which is why, again, choosing the first business, your first choice of business area and service is so important, because you want to show a quick win. So don't go big bang, go phased. That's one big thing. Get yourself a sponsor. The other bit is the sort of classic IT project failure where there hasn't been, enough thought given up front around what you're trying to achieve and determining those KPIs. How will I know that I've achieved something? And also measuring, so a lot of the stuff that we already talked about, yeah, sponsor, cultural change, measuring, surrounding yourself, getting IT at the table. IT know what they're doing, so have them at the table in these discussions. And the
Thank
second
you.
question?
Yeah, it was really in the same thing. I think what Roman was alluding to is that is a pitfall. That is part of the cultural change to accepting this in an organization. And I think if we led on from that, maybe to thinking about the organization, there is a question there. We've got Christian. Let me just read that out. Let's see if I can find it actually. So Christian's a service manager, IT. Can you tell me how some of your clients persuaded other departments to be interested in ESM? So I think it alludes back to the point that Roman was making. It's, it's sort of, yeah, it's a link. What do we do? Yeah, I tell you what, look, I'm not going to do anything. You know what I mean? Nothing. So how do you deal with that? How do you deal with maybe engaging with the rest of the organization to take ESM on as a thing?
So one of the things I would say is other departments have pain points. It's an issue. One of the reasons they don't see themselves as delivering a service is they just see it as a burden. It's a burden. It's a task they have to do. I'm not really about, I work in HR, but my God, the amount of time we spend giving people copies of their pay slips, or people ringing us up asking for copies of their pay slips, that type of thing. So, and what I would say is IT know how to deliver those well. So IT should be proactive and go out and reach out to other heads of departments. The slide I showed earlier about ideal ESM applications, look at those areas, look at HR, look at facilities management, go out and speak to those heads of departments and say to them, where are your pain points? What are your issues? And they will say to you, well, one is that we're burdened, and you think, right, well, automation, that get rid of your burden. One is that people don't ask for us in the proper way, and you think proper way, well, that's because you haven't communicated how you deliver your service, and so on. And then you say, right, come and have a look at what we do. Would this make your life easier? And when people see how seamless and how good practice is embedded in existing service desks, that's how you win them over. Now, sometimes what you've found is, and which we have found is, you'll have a pocket of the innovative within IT who has a PAL in another business area, and they build out something on a trial system. Or they just show now to knock up, for example, in SMAX, to knock up an app and a new offering, 2 hours. You can knock up something in 2 hours to show somebody and say, look, this is how you can transform your life. How great would this be? So there's nothing like showing somebody something to get buy-in. But it's the question with everyone. Nobody's interested unless you tell them how you're going to solve their problems. So ask them what their problem is.
Yeah, and I think, again, this comes back to a point that Tolga made a little earlier as well. And I'll just read this out because it's sort of the same ilk, all right? Tolga said, did I understand you correctly that business, compared to IT, is not or rarely used to work in frameworks? If that's not what you actually said, then could you elaborate? Now, I think it comes back to your point there about there are ways that organizations work, but I think it's about really improving those. So if there is a structure, as you said, yes, somebody's got to get a pay slip. There'll be some kind of structure to make that happen. But I think you're saying from an ESM perspective, as sort of IT being the ambassadors of service excellence, 30 years worth of really developing what a service mentality looks like, and how they take that to the rest of the organization properly and doing that properly. Do you think we're skilled enough in IT to be able to do that, to be able to take it to the rest of the organization, to yes, deliver it, to make it run, but actually to do that softer relationship thing in building that out? Do you think we've got those skills in IT? And if not, how do we get those skills?
Okay, I think what IT does have is already in place things such as ITIL. So there's two parts to this. So one is to sort of say, when I say frameworks in place, obviously facilities management have processes in place. Yeah, that's a given. Obviously, people who run training departments have processes in place. But what we're talking about is framework and principles around service delivery. So how is it you co-create a service with your end customer? How do you do that? That guidance is available in ITIL, and that's something that service delivery element is something that you don't generally see in other business departments. In how are we going to co-create this service with our end clients? So facilities management co-creating with the employees within the organization what facilities management should feel like to the customer, to the other employees, and so on. And that's where ITIL is great at guiding you. And your ITSM, those people, ITSM, IT service management, they're likely already doing it. So that's why I say give them a seat at the table.
And again, there are a couple of points there in relation to the same sort of theme. There's one point from Sarah, I think, that says, yeah, they're a small organization. We haven't even got knowledge management properly set up. We haven't got any real, ITIL sort of strategy around what we're trying to do to stop some of that.
And that's fine. That's fine. This is what I would say. So that's a really good point, because you know where you're starting from. So often what we get is people saying, oh yeah, ESM, great. Do you know what I want? I want a chatbot. And I'm like, do you know what? A chatbot will not work without databases of current knowledge, without well-documented business processes and so on, right? So yeah, it's a very popular first kind of artificial intelligence project type thing. But, you do need to have upfront preparation like knowledge management. So knowing where you're starting from is great. And you're there. If you don't have knowledge management in place, that doesn't mean that you're not in a good position to say, right, the earlier example I gave where if somebody wants to book parking or something like that, even having somebody log it in a central place, being able to track and know where the request for a parking allocation is, or where someone can go to just one portal or phone one desk to ask for things, that alone is improvements, even if you don't have knowledge management in place. So just because you don't have a really sophisticated ITSM, you're not highly evolved in that area, it doesn't mean you're not ready for ESM. There are obviously organizations who have already started on their ESM journey. They may already have lots of capabilities in place and advanced technologies and so on. And those people, they need to look at powering chatbots. Yeah, they need to look at lots of automation. They need to look at predicting risk and so on. So it depends on where your starting point is. But no matter where your starting point is, if you have buy-in, sponsorship, you will definitely have pain points that can be tackled by reaching out to ITSM, reaching out to your IT department and saying, show me what your technology does, show me how you guys work, show me how I can improve how I work, show me what principles you apply that will make our lives easier and deliver more productivity, deliver happier employees, and therefore lead us all towards sustainability and increased profits.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. We've got 3 minutes left, so I'll probably pick just one more out then. And we've got one for Jane. She mentions that, this has been very interesting for us to listen to. And she's just asking the question again. I think we may have covered this, right? But she's asking the question about ESM. Is it not just back office digital transformation? And I think there's a point to the digital transformation across the enterprise, bringing all that together. But it's not just the back office. Is that right?
No, that's true. And actually, ESM, we can eventually reach out as well. It's not, I talked about back office services today, but certainly, we can reach out beyond that. But when I think about digital transformation, there's sort of more than one area around that. So digital transformation would also be about designing, delivering new products and services, and therefore new revenue streams based on exploiting technology and data. It's also about customer engagement, external customer engagement, and mechanisms to improve that. So it's not, you're talking about using digital to improve the customer experience across the entire customer life cycle. Certainly back office digital transformation and enterprise service management are very closely tied together. The other thing I would say though as well about enterprise service management is, don't forget, it's not just about the digital technology piece, it's also about best practice. That I really think is something we need to be cognizant of. It's about best practice and it's about customer focus. They're not about technology and so on. So that's one thing I would say is obviously the technology enabled capabilities such as self-service and so on are important, but don't lose sight of who this is all being delivered to. It's an internal customer for the moment, or possibly an external customer if you're a multi-service provider who's running an ITSM solution and then is moving into other areas of provision.
Yeah, and I like that. I like that sort of, and I want to see more of these types of conversations with the wider business organization, with wider stakeholders, to talk about actually what customer experience is, and because we'll know that, right? We know what that means in IT. We know that means maybe in customer services, maybe in facilities, but I think in other areas it may still be quite a new thing to see your colleagues as a customer of a service that you're providing. So I'm really looking forward to this. I certainly think that this is there's a huge amount of push on this at the minute. You obviously, Eileen, you've seen it a lot more since COVID as well. So I'm looking forward to see more of this, and certainly as a as an industry, you know, and as an industry institution, to see this happening an awful lot more everywhere, you know, so that's been great. Anyway, we're dead on time. Look, it's great. Fantastic. Loved what we've seen today. So I'd like to thank Eileen for joining us. Thank you very much. And for WM Promus for a great presentation. For our listeners, we should have another, have we got another slide there, Eileen, with some links on maybe? For our listeners, you'll receive an email shortly advising how you can access the on-demand version of the webinar, so keep an eye out for that as well. More information is there on the screen as well. You can obviously you can access information via the WM Promus site, the URL, and email too. If we didn't get to your questions, there are a couple that weren't answered. If we didn't get to them, apologies. Please feel free to reach out to WM Promus on the website. Again, email. Thank you to Eileen from WM Promus. Thank you to Holly as well from SDI for managing today's webinar. And thank you to our listeners, you for taking the time to join us today. We look forward to seeing you again very soon. Until then, good luck and stay safe, and thank you and goodbye. And thank you, Eileen. It's been fantastic. Really, really enjoyed that.
Bye, David. Thanks so much.
No worries at all. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you.